Hello, beautiful people. This is the Sports Ball Talk Show, back with Gian and Franklin, of course. We have a few things to talk about today. You can see the graphics. Deshaun Watson, Mr. Massage, we got to talk about him. He's coming back this week. This is going to be a longer thing because I feel like there's several things to talk about here. But first, I want to get you guys' opinions. Gian, I'll start with you. Is he innocent or is he not innocent? Should he have a job in the NFL or should he be in prison right now?
Um, I always believe in innocent till proven guilty. That doesn't mean he's not a schemy little guy or disgusting in any way, shape, or form. That's on him. As whether or not he should be allowed to play in the NFL, I mean, if he didn't break any laws or if they can't indict him on anything, then I guess he should be allowed. But I mean, there's a lot of schemy stuff around all that, especially involving the Texans. And with the non-disclosure agreements and all that kind of stuff. I try to stay away from that. I mean, Mr. Massage is a gross man. I'm just going to tell you right now. He is a filthy man.
Hey,
filthy.
be careful as well, Jan. I meant to tell you this beforehand, but we don't want to say anything that is not legally correct and then get slapped with a lawsuit. So just you're fine, but just you're starting to go that way towards negative things about Deshaun. So let's just keep it PG. In the realm of family friendly. But Frank, what about you? What do you think about this guy?
I got my Cleveland stuff on. I'm a big Cleveland fan, and I was not a fan of us signing him by any stretch of the imagination. I can't obviously legally say that he did it, but I mean, I think that if that many people come forward, then it's kind of not a question of that anymore. So I think besides just that and all the poor decisions he seems to have made, I just don't like all the drama that comes along with him. I don't like the fact that we gave up 4 first-round picks to get somebody who was out for the majority of the season.
And you're paying him a lot of money.
Yeah, we're paying him a ton of money. And, he brings... People were getting on the Browns for signing Odell when he was, here a couple years ago because he was dramatic. And, those same people are kind of quiet about the whole Deshaun Watson thing. And unless he delivers, and even if he does deliver, it's going to be, I think, one of the worst trades that we have really engaged in maybe ever, just based on all of the distraction that he's bringing to the team. Some of the accusers are going to be at the game.
Oh man,
yeah. Whether or
I
not,
saw there's 10 or 11 of them are going to be there at his first game. Ooh, man, I saw a thing and I was like, I mean, obviously, hey, go see a football game if you want to see a football game, but I don't understand why they would want to go. I mean, I understand if anything, you'd think that, hey, I don't want to be near that guy, and I understand you're not near him if you're in the stands, but from what it seemed like to me, based on what I was reading, which is just someone's interpretation of it, so this doesn't mean anything in terms of what these women are actually thinking. I don't want to say anything about them that would be negative or anything like that, but it seems like they're going to try and throw him off his game. From what I read, it's like they're trying to go to kind of, make him confront, I guess, his victims and, whatever you want to call it, and it's just supposed to distract and throw him off his game. I don't really think that that's going to work because the stadium is huge, and I mean, what's one or a few people out of the tens of thousands that are there? But going back to what you said, I forgot that you're a Cleveland fan, and I wanted to ask you because I've seen a lot of stuff. This is a multi-part question, and this is mostly towards you, Frank, as a Cleveland fan. I've seen a lot of stuff on both sides of the argument, from Cleveland fans, they're happy they brought him in because, hey, yeah, all that stuff happened, may have happened, may not have happened, there's all this drama, whatever, but he's a good quarterback. Whenever he was playing and was active for a full season, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He was on par with how Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are right now. I mean, he led the league in passing yards, and this is after D-Hop left. He's a very good mobile quarterback. Exclusively talking about his gameplay, besides the preseason games, which I guess were I mean, preseason's the preseason. I don't really count that for anything, really. But he was a great quarterback. And so I've seen a lot of people say, hey, it doesn't really matter if we go win a Super Bowl or go to the playoffs the next couple of years. Who cares? Like, this is something that's going to be in the past, something no one's ever going to talk about again, like, once this thing blows over. So is it one of those things that you think that fans of Cleveland or just NFL in general, I guess it's, people that don't like him and don't like the team will probably bring it up, but do you think this is something that the NFL fan base will move past, and maybe, like, let's say he brings you guys to a Super Bowl, do you guys forgive him? Because there's been a trend the last couple of years, and I like it. If I were a owner of a football team, I would be doing the same thing. But from a viewer's perspective, it's kind of meh. But it seems like the last couple of years, teams have been sacrificing their next decade to go win a ring right now. The Bucs did that and got a lot of people. Now they suck. The Rams did that, which the Rams are dealing with injuries. But even when they weren't, they still sucked. But they wouldn't win a Super Bowl, so who really cares? What's the point of being like good or a first round playoff out, or even let's say you make the championship game every year, because your team is good? Who cares if you don't go win a Super Bowl? I think most teams are like, I'd rather win a Super Bowl now, and then we can be a 3-win team the next 10 seasons, but we won a Super Bowl ring now. And I think that's because teams are just investing a lot more. Like, people are trading for first rounders like you guys did, like the Broncos did, which we're going to talk about the Broncos later, but that's funny. But like the Rams did whenever they won their Super Bowl. The Bucs signed Brady and got all these other pieces, got Antonio Brown for a little bit. So it seems like that's what teams are doing. So let's say that happens. Let's say maybe not this year because the season's already looking grim for the Browns. It's kind of getting late, but let's say next season, you guys get like 14 wins and go win a Super Bowl. Are you upset that you guys went and got Deshaun Watson, or is it like, okay, it sucks we give up our future, but we've never won a Super Bowl, so it's okay because we were gonna suck anyway. Why not give up our future that was already gonna be bad and go ahead and win a Super Bowl? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, personally, I think it's a little hard to disconnect the player from the things that he's accused of doing. So personally, I don't think so. I think a lot of the fans could and probably will. But at the same time, I'm not sure because, obviously there was Ben Roethlisberger, and he had, some accusations against him. And then, we had Kareem Hunt, who I actually went to school with, University of Toledo, who had that video that came out. And the Chiefs dropped him, and then I think Cleveland picked him up right then and there. We got Tyreek Hill over in Miami, who obviously has had some questionable things attributed to him as well. So I think it just depends on the level of play. If he goes to MVP level, Deshaun Watson, where people are looking at him like you were saying, they were looking at him a few years ago playing on the level of like Patrick Mahomes, leading in passing without D-Hop. And I think our receiving core is probably on par with what he had in Houston at that point. Obviously, Amari Cooper's not anywhere near as good as DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean, skill-wise, probably not, but in terms of production, I mean, he's been phenomenal. He's like, the 8th ranked wide receiver right now for this season, and just purely on stats.
Yeah.
And that's with Jacoby Brissett, which that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about. I hate to keep jumping around, but it was a very emotional game for Jacoby Brissett, this last one. Obviously, they won. That was big for him, but kind of going into this whole thing, he knew that he was going to lose the starting job whenever Deshaun Watson came back, I guess, unless he won every game. But he kind of knew what was coming, and people have been kind of like, oh, this man deserves a starting job. Jacoby's a great quarterback, etc. I like Jacoby Brissett. I think he's a very good quarterback. I think that he is a very good backup. I think he deserves a backup job on a team. I personally don't think he deserves a starting job. I mean, he's one of those guys that you love to love, like Geno Smith. Like, everyone loves Geno Smith because he's just got a good story. Jacoby Brissett has a good story, but the Browns are horrible this year in terms of their record. And they have a good team. They have a great defense, a great offensive line, good skills group. You get people like Myles Garrett on that defense. And Jacoby Brissett, not that he's played poorly this season, but they're not winning games enough to even be in the playoff conversation. And so that's what, I guess, me saying that, like, yeah, I don't think Jacoby should keep the starting job if your goal as an organization is to go out and win, which it seems like that's what the Browns are doing. Like you said, they signed Kareem Hunt, Odell Beckham. It's like they don't seem to care about the drama off the field issues as much as some other teams. So if that's their mindset, I don't understand why they would keep Jacoby Brissett in if they're trying to win games. And for that matter, any team. I mean, I think Jacoby Brissett's better than a few quarterbacks that are starting right now because I mean, let's say Russell Wilson, horrible quarterback right now, one of his worst seasons ever, probably the worst season ever. But compared to like Deshaun Watson and what he can be, his ceiling is enormous. So that's just my piece, I guess, to the people that are emotional about Jacoby Brissett leaving. I understand he was a good quarterback, very good guy, but you're not going to win any more games with Jacoby Brissett enough to get to the playoffs. But with Deshaun Watson, you might. And back to what you said about, like, you mentioned Big Ben, Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill. These are all players that had things happen off the field, but they don't really come up anymore. I mean, like, if you're making a joke about it, or like there's like an NFL meme about it, sure. But like, those last couple years of Ben Roethlisberger's career, you didn't hear about it. You don't hear about Tyreek Hill or Kareem Hunt's things. You just look at the fact that Tyreek is probably the first guy who's in the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year right now. You look at Kareem Hunt as the best backup running back in the league who splits carries with Nick Chubb and has the best running back core there, maybe besides the Cowboys now because Pollard's gone off. But it seems like the NFL moves on from that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's different because Deshaun Watson's is, I guess, I don't want to say it's more serious because any level of accusation about that kind of thing is serious, but this one seems to be talked about more in the media than maybe some of the other ones. So I think that's one thing that's just going to be tough with this thing. I think it's possible for him to move on. Like I said, if he goes out and wins the Super Bowl, probably like Ravens, Steelers, and Bengals fans are never going to live it down because they don't want the Browns to be good, obviously. But like other, like if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, you don't really care because that division and that team specifically has nothing that you hate other than just, I guess, they're the Super Bowl winners and not you. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be a huge issue. But the other thing I wanted to talk about with this whole Deshaun Watson thing is, what do you, and I'll go back to you, Gian, because I haven't talked to you in a minute, so I want to hear your voice. What do you think are the odds of the Browns making the playoffs at this point? And I will run you through some of the scenarios, like what it would take for that to happen. But like, what do you think because like, I remember going into the season whenever they signed Deshaun Watson, everyone's like, okay, they need to win probably 4, 5, 6 games with Jacoby Brissett, and then if Deshaun Watson could probably win these games, if he plays like he did, then they could probably make the playoffs. At this point in the Browns season, what do you think is the odds that Deshaun Watson brings them to a playoff game?
For Deshaun to really take off for the rest of the season, I mean, the Browns have to beat the Texans, which shouldn't be too much of an issue, which is kind of funny. Texans being the old team for Deshaun. But they also have a bunch of division matchups against the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Ravens, and then a rather tough matchup with the Saints and the Commanders. They'd have to win, honestly, every single game remaining.
Well, here's the thing:
if they really want to make the playoffs, and that's what I think. And honestly, all those divisional matchups can be toss-ups. And at the end of the day, it all depends on Deshaun's chemistry with the receiving core and the team overall.
Yeah, like, I mean, best case scenario, obviously they win every game. But the thing is, like, this has a lot of moving pieces, obviously, because they need a few other teams to perform poorly the rest of the season. Right now, the wildcard spots for the AFC are Bills, Bengals, and Jets. Bengals and Jets sitting at 7-4. Either of those teams could lose a few games in the upcoming weeks and finish with, like, 9-10 wins because divisional games come up, end-of-season stuff happens. Either of those teams, I think, could fall out of that spot. And then you got the Patriots and Chargers that are one win behind them. So you need all those teams, obviously, to lose a few games. But if they win every game, then they are 10-7. And just running through their games, I don't think it's that unreasonable, honestly, because you got the Texans, who are the worst team in the NFL.
Yep.
You got the Bengals, which is a divisional game. Divisional games, I never really take for anything because those could always go either way, no matter what, unless your team is just that bad. You got a stretch of Bengals, Ravens. Both of those games, I think they probably lose because Deshaun Watson's fresh. We can't expect prime Deshaun Watson like he was a few years ago at this point. But assuming he is playing that way, I think that they can beat the Bengals and the Ravens. Then the Saints and Commanders. Saints suck. The Commanders have a better record than I think that they deserve. Heineke has a lot of turnover problems. Their defense is good, but I think that the Browns have enough of a skills group that they can get through that good D-line and just get some passes out. And then the Steelers in the last week 18, that's probably an easy game. I mean, it's once again Steelers. You can never bet against Mike Tomlin, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's that assuming Deshaun Watson plays well, it's not that unreasonable for them to get 10 wins at this point because he came on. Deshaun Watson's fresh. It's like he's basically coming off of a bye week. I mean, I guess it's a little bit different because he's been off for so long, and that could also hurt him because he hasn't played in a while. But he's been in practice for a while now. He's been in the facility for a while. Played during the preseason, so he's got some stuff there. But I think it's interesting to think about the fact that the Browns could potentially make the playoffs this year. I think that if Brissett had won one more game, I would feel relatively confidently, and like, yeah, they could probably go win enough games to get a wildcard spot. But they lost a few close games. I mean, they lost to the Falcons, which as much as I like the Falcons, they should have won that game. Probably they could have and should have.
The Ravens game.
The Ravens game, yeah, they lost by. I mean, like a lot of the games, like lost to the Falcons by 3, Chargers by 2, Ravens by 3. So it's a lot of these like coin flip games that they lost, and had they won, I think that it'd be a pretty safe lock to say they're going to make the playoffs unless Deshaun Watson plays that bad. But I think it's possible. I probably wouldn't pencil it in because I think that Mike White, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is a stud and is going to bring the Jets to a playoff. I think the Bills, I think the Bills are going to fall in the pack a little bit because of injuries, but I think that they stay in the wildcard spot. And then the Bengals as well. I think the Bengals have figured it out. Jamar Chase is coming back now, so I think the Bengals make it. So it's kind of tough. I don't really see anyone taking a spot from those three, but you still got the Patriots who've played surprisingly well and the Chargers who deceptively bad this season, but they still win enough games to be in there, and they could win a few here at the end. So, I mean, this is just playoff stuff in general, but I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see the kind of impact that Deshaun Watson makes on this team because, like I said, a few years ago he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and then all this stuff happened, and he's going to a new stadium, new team, everything. But I don't know. This is going to be something that we're probably talking about every single week. We'll probably have a segment on Deshaun Watson because whether he wins or loses, it's going to be a huge deal. It's going to be a massive waste by the Browns for spending all that money in draft capital, or it's going to be another case of the Rams and the Bucs the past 2 years going all in for a good season. And I mean, the way I look at it is if he gets 9 wins this season, the Browns finish with 9 wins, I think Deshaun Watson's success in terms of teams winning because he came in so late in a bad situation, and I think next season, keep the same thing you're doing, but just give him a full season to play. They get 11 wins. Assuming, who knows what happens in the offseason with other teams in their team, but assuming that everything else is the same, I think they could do better. So that's the way I look at it. I don't know. I've kind of just been rambling about this, but if you guys have anything else before we move on to the GOAT of the week, you're welcome to throw in your comments.
Gian?
I mean, yeah, I feel like you pretty much covered everything, Ethan. I mean, all of it, like I said, all it comes down to is to see whether or not he can establish that chemistry with the team. Because I'm predicting these are all going to be very close matches. With the exception of Texans and maybe the Commanders, but the Commanders are kind of sneaky.
I hate to interrupt you, but that just reminded me of the other thing. I knew there was missing one thing I wanted to talk about with this whole Deshaun Watson thing. His first game back is against the Texans, and I think that the NFL did a massive disservice to everyone making his return week against the Texans because he originally had like a 4 or 5 game suspension, and then they raised it to like 11 weeks exactly, which is kind of a weird number because people are like, yeah, it's stupid that he only got that many games. I think that they should have picked any other number than 11 because it seems like it's just an NFL like storyline. Like, oh, Deshaun Watson's first game back is against his old team, the Texans, who he had all these non-disclosure agreements and didn't want to play and sat out for a season, and then all this stuff happened. It's like, dude, this is a accusation that's being leveled against Deshaun Watson that's very serious, whether it's true or not. You do not need to turn this into like, oh, well, we can turn this punishment into a good storyline for week 11 and make the Texans a relevant game. It's like, dude, just do either like 10 or 12 or any other number because them coming back and saying, yeah, your first game back is going to be against your old team who had a ton of issues and a ton of drama behind that whole thing legally and on the field and off the field and everything. Everything under the freaking roof was an issue with Deshaun Watson and the Texans. So giving his first game back, I feel like is just disrespectful to everyone who was involved in this whole thing. I feel like that's just the NFL's way of making money off this thing and trying to monetize a bad situation because that is just stupid. You picked 11 weeks out of any given number. You could have picked 2 seasons. You could have picked 1. You could have picked your original, which is like 5 games. Could have picked 10. Anything. But you pick 11. Very shady.
Yeah, I agree with that there. I think that, and this kind of goes along with one of the other things that I was going to say about being a Browns fan. They're unfortunately known for a lot of mishaps like this, and they live down in infamy. So whether it's like Ernest Biner and the fumble in the playoffs, or drafting someone like Johnny Manziel, or just any number of mistakes like that, I think that ultimately, unfortunately, this is probably going to be another one of those mistakes. Passing up on, the draft that we drafted Baker. And right, there were many other good quarterbacks that we could have taken, And I think this is just another way that the Browns screw things up, and the NFL finds a way to make money off of that, because why keep them around unless you can make money off of them.
Yeah, and I understand that the NFL is a business, and I'm a very business first kind of guy when it comes to business. I don't think that like you should be sacrificing all of your profits and revenue streams and all that stuff to make people happy. But this is a big deal, I feel like, compared to some other things. It's not like they just didn't hang up a certain flag on a certain month or like whatever it could be that people would get mildly angry about. It's a serious accusation of sexual assault, and that's something that you should, especially where you're like your revenue stream is dependent on people buying in and like watching your product, that you need to be more mindful of. People aren't really talking about it that much. People talk about it a little bit, like at the beginning of the season, whenever we knew he was coming back at this point. But I don't know. I just feel like it needs to be mentioned again because the NFL, whatever. I've said my piece. Anyway, one question I wanted to ask you real quick: do you hate Baker Mayfield?
No, I don't. I don't hate Baker Mayfield. I mean, as
do
an Ohio
you
State
like
fan,
him?
Yes, I hate Baker Mayfield. I absolutely hate Baker Mayfield as an Ohio State fan. As a Cleveland fan, no, I don't. I think he came in, he gave it his all, and that's all that you can really ask of a quarterback. I think with the Panthers, you've seen why we got rid of him, just because he was not our quarterback of the future. He looked good for a few seasons when people were figuring him out, but I think just kind of like Russell Wilson, you cannot be a quarterback in the NFL unless you're Drew Brees, and be under 6'1" and be successful.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, I got a more specific question, and then I'm gonna get angry at you because I already know roughly what your answer is gonna be. Let's say on a scale from 1 to 10, 5 being you feel nothing towards him, anything below 5 meaning you don't like him, and then obviously closer to 0 is more hatred, and then anything above 5 is you like him, and 10 is obviously you freaking love him, favorite quarterback ever. 6 is like, yeah, he's cool. 7 is like, oh man, I really like that guy. As a Cleveland Browns fan, not Ohio State fan, what number?
6.
Okay, yeah, I won't get that angry at you, but here's the thing. You have a poverty franchise that you are a fan of. Baker Mayfield brought you to the playoffs and gave you wins. Baker Mayfield was a better quarterback than you guys have ever had, ever. The best team you guys ever had was with Baker Mayfield. All right, now you guys have better records than Blader in the playoffs in the past. But Baker Mayfield was a great quarterback to you guys. I understand he's no Patrick Mahomes, but he was great on your team. He dealt with injuries, and he averaged like 2 coaches per season, like 1.5 coaches per season. That man got done dirty. He brought you guys to a playoff. And honestly, listen, I'm a Chiefs fan, but the Browns should have beat the Chiefs in their playoff game 2 years ago because there was a horrible call at the end of the second half that allowed the Chiefs to get out by a touchdown. And if not only would the Chiefs not have gotten that touchdown, the Browns would have gotten one because it would have been on like the 10-yard line with a minute left. So Browns should have won that game, gone to the AFC Championship game, and then who knows what happens. But Baker Mayfield did that for you guys, so you need to love that man. You should be wearing a Baker Mayfield jersey right now and begging
got my
them to
Denzel
come
Ward
back.
Jersey on. I got to rep all Ohio.
I got my jersey on too. I got my Naruto jersey. I don't really have I don't have a sports jersey on right now. Sorry, but anyway, we'll move on because that's enough negativity about Deshaun Watson. But there was a lot to talk about right there, and I needed to get answers, especially from you as a Browns fan. But we'll move on to the greatest quarterback in the league probably right now. I want to talk about him for a little bit. Mike White of the Jets, the best quarterback in the entire league. He has replaced Zach Wilson as a starter, seemingly going forward, at least for this past game. But he's a monster. Zach Wilson, horrible. Played horribly a couple weeks ago and did not take accountability. Said, I didn't feel bad for only scoring 3 points, even though I got 7 yards total for the entire game, and I completed -4 passes, and I got 100 interceptions and fumbles. I hate Zach Wilson. The other day, I talked about Zach Wilson. I was like, you know what? I think he's a guy. That's what I said before he got drafted. I take it back. I was wrong. I will admit I was wrong. His skill-wise, I don't think is his problem because every quarterback takes time to develop, I think. I think people are too angry with quarterbacks when they're not a top 5, top 10 quarterback their first season. You got to think about the all-time greats, like Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, those 2 Packers ones right there. They both sat behind a veteran for a few seasons before they came out and started playing, and they were some of the best of all time. Whenever they started as a rookie, any of the games they played, they were horrible. So I think give people time to develop. But Zach Wilson is going to be unsuccessful, and I think he's going to lose his job because he will not take accountability for it. I'm not a big Trevor Lawrence fan. I'm not a big Jags fan. But one thing I love about Trevor Lawrence is every time they lose a game, he takes the blame. Same thing with Josh Allen. They take the blame, even if it's not completely their fault. They're like, yeah, I shouldn't have thrown that interception. I should have had that fumble. I should have completed more passes. I should have looked at the field more. I should have had better pocket presence. Whatever it is, they take accountability, and immediately, boom, I know what I need to fix, and then they get to work with the next week they have till the next game. Zach Wilson said, it's not my fault. And he looked like he was about to cry when he said it. It was like whenever there was a kid in class. Let's say you're in like 2nd grade, 4th grade, something like that. There's a kid who's very wealthy in class, and he finally starts getting bullied by all the other kids because he's pretentious and a snob. And he just sits there and looks like he's about to cry, and he's super angry. And he just tries to say, "No, I'm not," whenever you insult him and call him stupid and all this stuff. That's what Zach Wilson reminds me of, because that's exactly what he looked like and sounded like whenever he would not take accountability for his poor performance. So I don't like Zach Wilson anymore. I hate you, Zach Wilson. And I love people like Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, these other quarterbacks that take accountability, because that makes the fans like you, it makes your organization like you, and it makes your team unify around you. As a quarterback, you need to be a leader in your locker room. And this is going to be a little bit off topic, but this is why I think that the MVP as a quarterback award at this point is because the quarterback controls most of the success or failure for a team. Because in terms of just one single position, I think the defense matters more than the offense, just because I think that, even a poor offense can, get some field goals, every once in a while, get some touchdowns every once in a while. But a defense that can lock someone down to 10 points a game or less is unbelievable. More so than an offense that's going to score at least 10 points a week. But that's a whole unit. As one player, the quarterback, I think, is the most important player. So you need to be a leader in the locker room. Guys like Patrick Mahomes that are great leaders in the locker room get a lot of respect from their teammates. Zach Wilson has no respect from his teammates, and probably anyone in the NFL fan base at this point, because of how he acted last week. And so Mike White has taken his job, and Mike White looked like a freaking monster. He had an insane stat line against the Bears. They won 31-10. And his stats are insane. If you want to go ahead and give some praise, you're more than welcome to, Gian. I know you're itching for it.
Oh yeah, no. Mike White was an absolute beast against the Bears. Now, granted, the Bears don't have the best secondary in the world, but 315 passing yards, 3 tutties. That's exceptional. 22 out of 28 completed passes. And you know what? You could tell that all the players respected him and that he respected the players. He was able to make simple plays. He was able to use all the different tools. I believe Ty Johnson was in the mix on of a night. And then in addition to that, like, you got Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore has been dying to be used all season long. And now Elijah Moore got a tutty. He was used. Garrett Wilson was doing great. All around, this is a huge success, and you could see after the game, like, all the players gathering around Mike White celebrating. They have respect for him, because Mike White put himself out there. He genuinely helped the team, and you could see that that they see Mike White as the leader of the team. They don't see Zach Wilson as that kind of guy. And for me, I feel like everyone still thinks Zach Wilson lacks, like, some sort of, like, maturity factor, that he's still a kid. So
he does. He got spoiled at BYU. He was a brat. He's a brat.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And you can tell that Mike White was very poised. Didn't make any irrational throws or anything rushed. Shout out to the Jets defense, by the way. They did play their hearts out, stop the Bears and all their run and whatnot. But Mike White, shout out to you, brother. You did great. You're really doing a lot to help out the Jets, and I'm excited to see what's in store for the Jets, although they are division rivals.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to go back to the stats for a second, because every single stat for him was above average. He had 315 pass yards, like you said, 3 tuds, like you said. He had a 78.6% completion percentage, which is pretty freaking good for a quarterback. That is very good. Usually like mid-60s is like, yeah, that's a pretty average quarterback. The high 70s, because it gets harder and harder to go up once you get to that point. And then a 91.2 QBR, which is literally the highest QBRs of the weekend, was Mike White in that game. And like you said, Bears are not necessarily a great team that you should be super proud of yourself for beating, but he still did it. The team likes him, like you said, and it seems like those offensive weapons that the Jets have that have been underutilized forever are getting their chance to shine now because you got a pretty underrated skills group, I'd say, with a couple stud receivers and a good running back core. Obviously, they lost Breece Hall, but you still have a pretty good running back core. And it seems like they're all getting used now that they have a quarterback that is kind of spreading the ball around a little bit more and is actually moving the ball. There is more than 50 yards of offense whenever he plays the game versus when Zach Wilson plays the game. So there's like 400 more yards to go around for all the skills players on that team compared to when Zach Wilson was playing. So, Mike White, I hope you keep the starting job, and I hope Zach Wilson doesn't even say it's a backup. I am full on that I hate Zach Wilson train now. I hope he doesn't play another NFL game. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to be that negative, but he needs to be removed for a while and humble up a little bit, and then maybe come back because he's still young. Even at that age, I feel like in the NFL you should have that level of maturity, but he doesn't, and I'll give him a little bit of a pass to hope that he matures up a little bit because at the end of the day, I think that I don't wish negativity on any of these NFL players, especially ones that haven't really done anything wrong besides just be immature. So I hope he figures it out, but hopefully it's not with the Jets because I think Mike White is your guy. I think that's a guy that you can keep for a while and then win games with. I mean, I think that's your best bet to make the playoffs at this point. Like I said, there's a couple teams that are one win behind you, and you got the Browns with Deshaun Watson now that could come up and sneak into the wild card picture. So I think that they need to keep Mike White in if they have a chance of keeping that playoff spot. Frank, you go ahead. I know you're trying to say something a minute ago, and I cut you off.
No, I mean, I was just going to comment on the fact that he was doing everything, Mike White was doing everything that a leader should do on the field, where if I think he led Garrett Wilson a little bit too much at one point and made him lay himself out, and then he got hit-sticked, and he immediately ran over to Garrett Wilson and was like, hey, like, my bad, like, I should not have led you like that. He was communicating with his receivers in a way that you've not seen Zach Wilson do at all, with a clarity, of leadership and qualities of leadership that Zach Wilson just has not, shown at all this season, or really last season, which you can't blame him for because he was a rookie. But, I just think that you stick with with Mike White for right now, like you were saying, Ethan, try and win, a few more games because it seems like the team is really rallying around him. Hopefully Zach learns his lesson and gets back into a better shape because this is not what you want. I think the league's better when the Jets are good. It's just more fun when you have good New York teams. And I would like to see them do well. I know Gion's a big fan of Miami.
Yeah, I think it's also just good whenever you have a lot of good teams in general. It's kind of annoying when there's like 5 good teams in each conference that are going to make the playoffs, and the other 1 or 2 is just whoever's the least bad. I think this NFL season, especially in the AFC, there are way too many good teams, and I like that because you got all the ones that are in the playoffs right now, and then, like I said earlier, you got the Patriots and Chargers, who are both really good teams and have positive records, but are not in the playoffs currently because of other teams that are just playing better. And so I think it just kind of makes everything better because it really makes you just step up another level because you don't just have to be good enough to make the playoffs. You actually have to be really good. So I think the AFC playoffs is going to be really fun to watch this year just because there are so many good teams that are going to be in there. Every team that's going to make the playoffs for the AFC is going to be a really good team. So I think it's going to be fun to watch. But moving on to one of the few AFC teams that is not good, into our bum of the week segment. It is the entirety of the Broncos. I mean, this segment we've vaguely done it the past couple weeks by just talking about who's a bum, but now it's an official thing, bum of the week. The idea is to just be like, hey, it's this one player who made a massive mistake and cost the game and is just playing horribly. But this week it's just the Broncos because they suck. The Panthers scored 23 points. Are you kidding me right now? Are you serious right now? The Panthers that have no coach, no quarterback, no running back, no receivers outside DJ Moore, a mediocre defense, and a mediocre offensive line. They scored more points than every other team they've played this season besides the Raiders on them. So the Broncos are bums this week. They're the bums of the week. And you know what? I'm gonna give a little social media plug right here. We have a Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. It's Sportsball Talk 3. But I posted a TikTok today talking about how Geno Smith and Russell Wilson are the exact same quarterback, and this is not meant to be a little Geno Smith hate session. It's meant to be a Russell Wilson hate session, but Geno Smith's kind of going to get dogged here a little bit. Both of these quarterbacks are very good in Seattle and horrible outside of Seattle. I don't think that Russell Wilson is a great quarterback. I don't think that he deserved an MVP ever, because there's always a point in the season where it's like, oh, Russell Wilson's playing good, let Russ cook, he's going to be MVP this year, and then he throws 10 interceptions in one game and doesn't get it. He never deserved an MVP either. None of those seasons did he play the best, was he the best player compared to any other team, any other player in the league. Super Bowl ring, Legion of Boom, I'm not going to give that to Russell Wilson, but I'm also not going to give his success to himself, which sounds dickish, but it seems like it's just the Seahawks offense, because Geno Smith, as much as people love him and say he's a good quarterback, he was horrible until he started playing for the Seahawks this year and started, and now he's playing great. So it is the Seahawks that are the good franchise, the good coaching staff, good everything. It is not Russell Wilson that was good in Seattle. It was Seattle that was good to Russell Wilson, and it is now being good to Geno Smith. He has been with the Broncos for more than a few months. I was going to say a few months, but nearly a year, I guess, at this point. Not full year. You know what I mean. And he currently has less passing touchdowns than he has bathrooms in his house, because he is horrible. And I understand the Broncos have, I think, the most injuries in terms of starting players of any team in the NFL. But even at the beginning of the season, when they didn't have all these injuries, when Javonte Williams was still playing, when Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton were both super healthy, they were still losing games and still not like being garbage. Efficient. Yeah, they play like garbage. And so you have this team that has an incredible defense still. They are very rarely allowing more than 18 points a game. If they had like an average offense right now, they would be like 9-1 or 8-2 or something right now. But the Broncos suck, and they played horribly against the Panthers, because that is a bum team. It's one of those teams that you don't understand why they win games when they do. But they beat the Broncos, and I guess it's not that surprising because the Broncos suck, but it is frustrating. Not as a Broncos fan, but as someone who knows Broncos fans, it's like, yeah, you just paid all this money and spent all these draft picks to get this guy that's horrible. He's not good. He's not playing well for you guys. He's just garbage.
Yeah. You got to kind of hope that Cleveland doesn't have the same thing going on with Deshaun Watson. Not to go back to that, but those are two teams that kind of went all in for a quarterback this year, and doesn't look like it's paying off so far. And yeah, I agree with you though, Ethan. I think that Russell Wilson maybe deserves Bum of the Week. I think his play has been absolutely atrocious, and there's no excuse for that when you're getting paid as much as you are, and have the expectations that you do. Like, this was supposed to be the Broncos' year, and he's not doing that. We knew coming in Cleveland that there was a possibility Deshaun Watson wouldn't play well. That's a whole nother story. But, I think that when you have the expectations of not only an entire city, an entire state, there's an entire Russell Wilson fan base.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
Yeah. Exactly, and they are not riding this year at all. They're doing the opposite of that.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. I don't want to sound like LeBron James and say I predicted something that there's no way I could have predicted. But going into the season, I think I talked to a few of you guys about it in the office this past summer. I know I talked about it to a few of you guys. I don't know if you guys heard it, but you can confirm that I did it whenever I say my piece. I said before the season that I didn't think the Broncos were going to be that good, not because they didn't have the talent, but because I think that it takes time to build chemistry as a team. And clearly, we're seeing that with Russell Wilson. He has no chemistry with his team, and I thought that they were going to finish either last or second to last in the AFC West and miss the playoffs, and that's exactly what's happening. I don't think I intended with my prediction that they would get 3 or 4 wins all season, but I did not think that they were going to be a 12-win team like a lot of people thought they were going to be going into the season just because they got Russell Wilson. And especially since then, that there's been a lot of information come out from Seahawks players that were teammates of his about how bad of a teammate he was. And so that all goes into it. I mean, there's nothing about being a quarterback that is just how good you are at being a quarterback. It is your skill. It is how good you can communicate with teammates, how good of friends you are, how much they respect you, your off-the-field issues if you have any. It's all these different things that go into making you a good, successful quarterback because you need everything to be on your side. Like, a good quarterback can only do so much. If you gave Patrick Mahomes high school receivers and throw him in the NFL, he would not win more than 5 games a season. It's not because of any lack of skill on his end, but it's because of the whole team around him. So the quarterback is dependent on a lot of moving pieces to be good, but nearly everyone in the NFL is there for a reason. They are good to some degree. They are better than 99.9% of people in the world at football. So there's not really an excuse there, but he has no chemistry. It's not like there's a lack of skill on that team because everyone there is good to some degree. It's just that he is not playing well, and Broncos country is not writing, and I don't really care because I'm not a Broncos fan. I feel very neutral. They're probably like very middle of the pack for me because of how much I like or dislike teams, but as someone who likes the NFL and likes good teams, like I said a minute ago, I love when there's just a ton of good teams. The Broncos are not on that list, and so they are the fat bums of the week. Gian, go ahead and give your comments. I know you have something to say about this buffoon, Russell Wilson.
I came into the season thinking, and I can't confirm you did say that in the office, just because I completely disagreed with you. I was like, are you kidding me? Russell Wilson, he's got a phenomenal receiving core, great running back core, probably arguably top 5 defense. No, the entire team are bums. And there, like you said, there's no chemistry, and talk about a lack of leadership. Like nobody on the team respects him. We saw that this weekend when you had a lineman just go up to him and just yelling at Russ. This team is not clicking together. I don't know if it's the coaching. All I know is that Russ is a key factor in this, and he is just not performing. Maybe that injury that he had to his hand last year really did hurt, really did affect his playability. That's what I'm assuming is a possibility, but I don't know what it is. Russ is an absolute bum. I'm sorry, but he is not performing at all what we were all expecting. Russell Wilson, you had weapons. You had weapons. I remember reading reports in training camp. Jerry Jeudy, unguardable. Courtland Sutton's going to be back. Speedster for the Broncos. Deep threat. And those two type of players are the players that he had over in Seattle. He had monster speedster in Tyler Lockett. He had a great pass catcher in DK Metcalf. These guys are similar. They're not the same. That's not to say they're the same, but like you have your 1-2 punch. No, he can't use them. He's unable to use them. I don't know what it is, but let me tell you, I can't stand Russell Wilson, and I can't stand the Broncos. There were so many Thursday night football games that I had to sit there watching the TV just drooling because of how slow and how terrible the play was. And this isn't just this week. This week is just icing on the cake. It's just been all season.
That's the other piece of it. It's not like they're just a bad team, but they're also really boring to watch. Like, they're not fun. It's not even like they're taking deep shots and trying to make something happen and all this other stuff. They're just boring. There's nothing interesting about watching a Broncos game, and they also suck. It's like teams that are boring but are good. It's like, okay, yeah, it's annoying to watch you, but like, hey, you're a 11 to 12 win team this year. So like, hey, I can't, say anything negative about you because you're winning games, and that's what it takes is being boring. Then yeah, hey, you go win a Super Bowl. But they're boring and they're bad. And the other thing that we need to talk about is their coach.
How much of it do you think is coaching? Yeah,
yes, coaching, because they brought in this offensive guru from Green Bay. Green Bay's offensive coordinator is their new head coach, and I mean, he's horrible. Like, I don't want to blame this all on one person. It is that's why we have Broncos as a whole as a bum, because it's not just Russell Wilson. It's also the play calling from the coach. He is horrible. There are some times when offensive coordinators are really good and then they just go be a coach and it doesn't work out, and I think this is one of those cases because he's just not good. He is not making good calls. He's not using the strengths, like you said, the skills that Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton have. He's not utilizing those to the best of their ability. And of course, some of it's on Russell Wilson not being able to make these throws and having the awareness around him that he needs to not take sacks and things like that. But it is also the play calling, because if you call a good play and your offensive line gives you time, then Russell Wilson can make that throw. As much as I don't like Russell Wilson and I don't think he's that great of a quarterback, he's good enough to be in the NFL and have a starting job and get paid $200 million a year. And he's won a Super Bowl and he's been in MVP conversations. So he's good enough to make throws. But this season, he's not playing that well. And the play calling is horrible. So there's a lot of things wrong with this Broncos team. I think in the offseason they need to make a big coaching change. I don't think they need to give up on Russell Wilson just yet because they've invested so much money into him. I think that you change the coaching, see if that fixes it, and then if not, yeah, you got to get rid of Russell Wilson and go ahead and invest in your next franchise quarterback, because if he's still bad with another offensive play caller, then it's him. You know, like he was good with Pete Carroll, but Pete Carroll's also one of the greatest coaches of all time. You know, in the 21st century. So that's a little bit different than your average run-of-the-mill coach and average run-of-the-mill quarterback, things like that. So we're probably going to talk about this Broncos team again. I'm going to try not to double up on Bum of the Week with using the same person or same team each week. But if the Broncos do something again like they did this past week against the Panthers, then they're going to come back up. But I think it's about time that we get into our picks for this week. So I've got the spreads right here. The first game, this is a very tough week. All of these spreads I looked at before we started, which I usually don't do. I usually wait to react to them live and just give my authentic reaction if I glance at them beforehand. They're tough. This is a tough week of NFL picks. But first, to recap from this past week, I kind of got dogged. I didn't do that bad. Actually, we all did pretty good, but I just didn't do as good. So this week I went 8-8. Gian went 11-5, and Frank went 11-5. So Gian is currently ahead of me. He's a little bit in the lead. Overall record right now, I'm 16-3. Gian is 18-11, so he has 2 more wins than me. And then Frank is 13-16, so he's 3 behind me. So it's a pretty tight pack at this point. I like it. I'm still gonna kick your asses. But a few games this past week. I said this before we started, but I should not have bet on the Colts in Pittsburgh because I like the Colts, and that's why I bet on them. Same thing with the Falcons. I usually bet on them because to my team. Same thing with the Chiefs. I like betting on them because they're my teams. But betting on Mike Tomlin at home, whenever he's favored to lose, is a horrible idea. I said it before that we started. I don't know what the stats are on that, but that feels like a lock. Do not bet against Mike Tomlin when they're favored to lose at home because Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, and I understand this is probably his worst team he's ever had playing for him, and he's playing against some of the hardest teams that he's ever played against. But Mike Tomlin is a phenomenal coach. In my opinion, he's one of the greatest coaches, I think, of all time. I mean, to be able to do what he's done, I feel like he's one of those that flies under the radar for coaching, but it was not all Big Ben and Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell that were winning them championships. It was Mike Tomlin because he had some bad years where they didn't have Big Ben. They had Big Ben, but he was old, or Big Ben and he was hurt, and they still managed to go positive that season. So Mike Tomlin deserves a lot of credit, and I should not have bet against him. That's the only pick I'm going to defend. Everything else, I just suck. So we'll get into the picks for this week. I'm going to make a comeback. Gian is going to pick every single game wrong, and Frank will pick like 2 games correct, and then I will go I don't know what it's 16 games this week. I'll go 16 for 16 or 15 for 15, whatever it is.
Here's the thing: you say this every week so far, and you still haven't.
Prediction of the week last week when we were asking you.
Yeah.
So,
I also want to point out, I had the Cardinals. I was told Colt McCoy was in, but I initially had the Cardinals. But I should have stuck with my gut, so I only have myself to blame for that.
I went with my team up in Cleveland, so.
All right, let's get into the picks.
Yeah, the Cardinals thing. Another thing we learned is not to trust Frank when he says a player's coming back because he's just wrong. I mean, as much as
I've been listening to Field Yates. Don't blame it on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as much as it's not Frank's fault, I'm going to blame him for it. So you're getting the blame. I'm sorry, Frank. That's just how it is. Anyway. First week, or first game, Thursday night game. This is actually a really good week to watch football. This is going to be a very entertaining week. It is Bills at Patriots. So it's a home game for the Patriots. And the Bills are favored to win by 4. Patriots +4, Bills -4. What do you guys want to do? Tough one, ain't it? Because the Bills have sucked and they're injured.
Yeah, no. So here's the thing: the Bills are injured. Their key defensive linebacker, lineman and all that. Von Miller, he's out with a meniscus injury, so I doubt he's going to be playing. But aside from that, team's got a couple of injuries, but I'm actually quite worried about Josh Allen's quarterback play because he's been throwing a lot of picks lately. And we all know Big Bill Belichick. Belichick is gonna scheme up something to try to keep Diggs and the rest of the receiving core out tight coverage.
Yeah, you got Judon. Let's talk about Judon.
Yeah, Matthew Judon.
He is a monster, dude. He is a freaking monster. That's a guy that I would be scared of if let's say I was at a bar and he was hitting on my girl. I'm not even gonna try and stop him. There's like him, Aaron Donald, and Myles Garrett are probably 3 of the only guys that I would not You know, even if I know I'm gonna get my ass kicked, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do something because like that's just what I do, and being respectful. But not against Matt Judon. I'm not. That guy's a monster. I'm taking Pats +4 here. They're at home. The Bills have been wishy-washy the past few weeks, and you got Bill Belichick, who is the greatest coach of all time. I'm talking about good coaches, throughout the cast with Pete Carroll and Mike Tomlin, but Bill Belichick it's Bill Belichick. I mean, Mac Jones looks phenomenal as well. He's played fantastic recently. I haven't talked about that at all in the past few weeks, but Mac Jones has played great. Even that really weird game against the Jets, he had a really good stat line and was very efficient with the ball. It was just not being able to close, but it's up to a lot of different reasons. So I'm taking Pats +4. I feel like at home, I just feel like it's asking to be picked. Pats +4.
I do want to note that this game, I'm looking at the weather for this game. It's looking like it's going to be cold and rainy, so that's going to be quite interesting. Especially when it comes to the run game and ability to pass and whatnot. The Bills still have a solid defense even without Von Miller. We saw that. Although the Lions did go on a tear.
The Lions almost beat him, dude. Which I'm not going to say that the Bills are bad, but also the Lions have just been playing really well. The Lions were on a 3-win streak, and I mean, man, I like the Lions right now. But yeah, it's tough, dude.
Yeah.
This is a tough game, man. I think it's the Patriots because going back to that, you said it might be a run-heavy game. That's what Bill Belichick has always done. And had Tom Brady, obviously, he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. I guess it's debatable. But they've always had a very good run game, even if they don't have good running backs. Bill Belichick has always been able to cook something up. So, I mean, think about, I think it was last year, the Bills played the Patriots, and it was, super snowy or super rainy or something, and so they let Matt Jones throw the ball twice, and they won the game. I think they had 3 attempts and 2 completions, and they won the game because their run game was so efficient. So Pats +4 feels obvious to me, but who knows? Nothing's obvious in the NFL, but that feels like that. There's just nothing going for the Bills right here. There's not a thing you can say about the Bills that's positive compared to, let's say the beginning of the season, how you expected these two teams to play going in. The Patriots defense is better than they were supposed to be. Mac Jones is better than he was supposed to be. Bill Belichick is coaching like he usually does. The Bills are playing worse than they were supposed to be. Josh Allen dealing with injury, also playing horse shit. You got other injuries on the Bills defense. So it just feels obvious to pick the Pats +4. I feel like that should be a bigger spread almost.
I'm going with the Bills on this one.
Good.
I needed to go on the Bills on this one. I don't know. My gut hasn't been too wrong.
I mean, yeah, this is kind of a toss-up because Josh Allen can turn it back on any game. We've seen what he can do when he's playing like he's supposed to. So if he turns it on this game, he's better this game. I mean, yeah, this game is a wash. He's gonna win by 50 points, but
not to mention
Thursday night.
Yeah, it is a Thursday night, but not to mention Justin Jefferson tore up the Patriots, and they have Stephon Diggs on their team and Gabe Davis, 2 phenomenal deep threats. So you never know, because Stephon Diggs changed the entire game in the Lions game. That one deep catch at the end of it changed the entire momentum. It looked like the Lions were gonna smack the Bills. Nope, Bills come back. I could see that happening, and I could see the Bills getting a random touchdown in the game that puts them forward. I got the Bills on this one.
What about you, Frank?
I think that Belichick pumps up his footballs with some helium and pulls this one off at home.
Awesome.
I'm gonna go with the Pats on this one.
Perfect. Yeah. Hey, thank you for picking the wrong answer, Gian. I like it. Jets at Vikings. The Vikings are favored to win by 3. I mean, this is another weird one because the Jets have been really good, especially through Mike White. The Vikings have been a little disappointing lately, but they're still a better team probably, and it's at home for Vikings, and they're favored to win by 3 points. What do we think?
The Vikings all day. I got my boy JJ.
Yeah, I know you're picking the Vikings. I don't even know why I ask. I would think you're a Vikings fan if I didn't know you weren't.
Yeah, no, I like JJ. I'm a big Kirk Cousins fan. I like his confidence and swagger, as Stephen A would say, that he plays with. So I'm gonna go with them. But I know Gian, you're trying to get a JJ or TJ Hawkinson jersey from one of our coworkers after this season. So
I am, and that's not to say that they won't play well, but I smell an upset. I smell a trap.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't really. This feels too obvious. It's like suspiciously obvious for a -3 Vikings.
Yeah. Although the Vikings will be at home. The Vikings will be at home, so they'll obviously have home field advantage. Honestly, it all depends on Mike White's play. Oof, I don't like this game. I really don't, because the Jets have top 3 defense in the league right now. Honestly, the best defenses right now are in the AFC East. You have the Patriots, the Jets, and the Bills.
Yeah.
All 3 are ridiculous. And the Vikings don't have that phenomenal of a defense. I mean, a lot of games with the Vikings end up being shootouts.
It's shootouts, and that feels like it favors the Vikings, but also Mike White, I mean, he's a stud. I mean, and they have a very diverse skills group. It's not like they just have one guy that they rely on.
Yeah, they're having a week to continue to practice with all their weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Hey. They beat the Dolphins. Alright, I'm pretty sure Tua wasn't playing in that game. That being said, one loss doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, the Dolphins are winning everything. And just because of that comment, I got the Vikings winning this one.
Alright. Tua has not lost since... the Dolphins are 8-0 with Tua starting and finishing a game. So, Tua's undefeated, and really, I should say he's the only undefeated quarterback in the NFL. Be like, oh, Bailey Zapp won 2 games. Yeah, that doesn't count, because it's 2 games. Tua's played the whole season minus 2 games, and has won all of them. So, Tua for MVP? I know Gian wants it.
MVP, baby, all the way.
Sunday, it is Broncos at Ravens. The Ravens are favored to win by 8.5.
The Ravens just choked a big one in Jacksonville, so... I'm not too sure on this. Gian, what are you thinking?
The Broncos suck, man.
I mean, after Lamar's reaction on Twitter, I feel like Lamar is angry. Okay, Lamar wants to prove that he's worth a guaranteed $250 million.
On my fantasy team this week.
I actually have him in another league, and he didn't do too bad. Fantasy-wise.
Let me say this.
But.
So
go ahead.
The Broncos' defense is insane, and that's the only reason that I think picking that high of a win for the Ravens is tough. I think the Ravens win, but that's probably obvious because Russell Wilson's going to throw for 4 yards and half a touchdown. But the Broncos' defense is really good, and that's why I don't know if it's going to be by that many points. But let me tell you this: someone at Castle Will Kill on Twitter said, when someone is asking for over $250 million guaranteed like Lamar Jackson, games like this should not come to Justin Tucker. Let Lamar walk around and spend that money on a well-rounded team. This is after the loss of the Jaguars. And I'm going to censor myself a little bit because I don't use profane words on this show. But Lamar responded and said, boy, STFU. Y'all be capping too much on this app. MF never smelt a football field and never did shit but eat dick. I didn't censor myself, but it's worth it.
We'll censor it afterwards.
Yeah. I won't. But yeah, he said that, and it's like, okay, yeah, I feel like you gotta pick the Ravens after Lamar's that. I mean, that's the whole thing with Lamar this season. He's got to prove he's worth 250 like he wants. I think personally he is. I've even said mobile quarterback style is not my thing, but I think he's the best mobile quarterback in the league right now. I think that he is a very good quarterback. He is phenomenal passing stats this season. So he's not just a mobile, he's not just a runner. He's had phenomenal passing stats even with a very hit or miss receiving core because Mark Andrews has been injured, Rashad Bateman's been injured, so he's kind of relied on these second string guys and still done well. So I feel like you got to pick the Ravens here, but like I said, the points are just a lot. So I don't know.
And it is going to be a rainy game also. Weather-wise, according to what I'm looking at on CBS, it looks like it might rain too. So that's also going to be a very tricky game. I feel like Lamar is going to be a slippery salamander. Give me the Ravens on this one because here's the thing. Even if Lamar isn't throwing tutties left and right, they still got Justin Tucker. And a lot of these Broncos games are very low scoring. But I feel like the Ravens can pull off a touchdown and maybe a decently sized field goal to win the game. So give me the Ravens. Give me the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens
I'm
too.
taking the Ravens as well.
Cool. Just Ravens across the board. That's easy, I feel like.
Yeah.
All right.
We can't bet on our bum of the week. What do we do?
No, I don't care. If that spread was 50 points, I would bet on the Ravens, even though I know that would lose just to, man, I just hate the Broncos. I can't bet them. Anyway, next game, Pittsburgh at Atlanta. Pittsburgh is favored to win by 1.5 points. So very tight spread.
Give me Pittsburgh. Give me Pittsburgh. It's got Pittsburgh all over it. Like you said earlier, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. I feel like this is another game that they'll win. Atlanta, I mean, again, with Kyle Pitts being out, I don't see them winning many other games. Not just because Kyle Pitts is the guy, but I always feel like Kyle Pitts is some sort of distracting factor for the other wide receivers to be available. Marcus Mariota obviously is mobile. But man, Kenny Pickett and George Pickens, they are quite the duo. Let me tell you something, man. They are quite the duo. George Pickens, another ridiculous catch over near the sideline. George Pickens is a pretty good player overall, and Kenny Pickett's shaping up to be a really decent quarterback. Fairmouth played well. They got the run. They have two rather decent running backs with Najee there as well. Give me the Steelers. The Steelers might make a run for a comeback, man.
On principle, I will pick the Falcons just because I hate the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm picking the Falcons. Let me go and pencil yours in, Frank, and then I'll give you why I'm picking the Falcons, because I'm important, and what I say is important.
I don't have any reason for it. I just don't like the Steelers, so I'm picking Marcus Mariota, who
TJ Watt is going to slam Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, here's why the Falcons are going to win. Sorry about that. I had to, see, I got the big ass headphones on now. Had to change it up. AirPods died. Unprofessional of me. But anyway, taking the Falcons, and here's why. I said never to bet against Mike Tomlin. But like I said, that's at home and favored to lose. The Falcons always win just enough games to piss off fans for not making the playoffs. This week against the Commanders, like, hey, if they win this game, then they're like in the playoff picture, and then they lost. So now if they win this game, they're in the playoff picture because the Bucs lost. And so they're going to win this game, and then they're going to lose the next one. And it's at home, and I'm always going to bet on the Falcons, probably, because I like the Falcons. But yeah, this feels like a game from how they always make the Falcons season go. This feels like a game that they have to win. So I got Falcons plus 1.5. Next game is Jacksonville at Detroit. The spread is -1.5 Jacksonville, plus 1.5 Detroit. What do you guys think is going?
I'm going with Detroit all day, every day. They just lost a close one at home on Thanksgiving. I think they come back with a vengeance and beat the Jacksonville, I guess, frauds, you could say. I think the game this week was a fluke. I am not a believer in Trevor Lawrence at all. I don't like him at all. So yes, if anybody is a Jacksonville fan watching this, I'm sorry that you have Trevor Lawrence as your quarterback.
Yeah, I think that I'm gonna just go ahead, Gian, if you don't mind. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, whatever. The Jags should not have won that game. Bad call by the refs for a touchdown. And Detroit's been kicking ass, and the Jaguars suck. So it's Lions plus 1.5. I hope you pick the Jaguars, Gian, so you can lose. But go ahead, say your piece.
You read me like a book. I'm picking the Jaguars.
Yep. Oh. Okay, Gian. Oh, look, I'm going to get ahead by being different and picking other things. Yeah, you're going to lose, Gian. You're going to lose this week.
All right, although Etienne does have a foot injury, J. Michael Hasty tore up the field.
He's playing.
Against the Ravens. I mean, come on. The Ravens supposed to have a better defense. You have Christian Kirk. He's been playing. Zay Jones. They've both been playing phenomenally. Now, don't get me wrong. The Lions' offense is legit, but the Jags' defense, they're in the first quarter, but for whatever reason, come second quarter, they do a little better. They did. And being a Florida boy, being a Florida Jit, I can't go against the Jags, especially with the Lions' defense. They're abysmal. The Lions can be ahead, and all it takes is one play to just demolish them.
Aiden Hutchinson is going to end Trevor Lawrence's career on Sunday.
Yes. I agree.
I don't know, man. I really feel like this is Jacksonville's game
Aiden
to
Hutchinson
win.
is this year's Micah Parsons. I agree with you. The defense as a whole is not that good, but Aiden Hutchinson is going to give Trevor Lawrence some
no.
issues.
Oh, yeah, no. Aiden Hutchinson's an absolute beast. Don't get me
I
wrong.
would
I
hesitate.
have absolute respect for Aiden Hutchinson, but this has Jags written all over it.
I would not call him this year's Micah Parsons, though. I think Micah Parsons is leagues above where Aiden Hutchinson is.
Well,
so.
have you watched Aiden Hutchinson play?
Yeah, I have.
Dude,
but
he
I
has
think
been
Micah Parsons-
unstoppable.
Micah
I'm not-
Parsons gonna be the defensive player of the year this year.
Yeah,
dude.
but I'm talking about his
Yeah.
last year. Like last year, like he wasn't.
He could have been defensive player of the year last year.
No,
he was
defensive
not
rookie of the
good.
year. He wasn't the best defensive player of the year.
But here's the thing, like Micah Parsons was an absolute beast, and I think he made more. No, that sounds mean, but I feel like Micah Parsons had a much more significant and notable impact compared to Aiden. That's not to take away from Aiden. Aiden, I have the absolute most respect for you because you were an absolute beast.
Yeah.
You're a leader on that Lions defense, but I really think that both of you guys are great. Don't get me wrong, but for me, I feel like Micah Parsons has the slight edge over Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay, you also got to think
overall.
about the defensive coordinating for the Cowboys is probably the best in the league, and the Lions isn't. And Aiden Hutchinson is still as
Fair enough,
much of a
fair enough.
monster as he is. I mean,
Listen,
Okay,
Game Quinn
maybe
is
in
a
a couple
good
of years, he top five.
the season's not over yet,
three,
and he's
actually.
got 5.5 sacks and 2 interceptions as a defensive end.
Oh yeah, no. Kid's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. What a pick by the Lions, let me tell you.
Oh yeah, that was a fantastic pick. Yeah, and Micah Parsons last year got 13 sacks and 0 interceptions. Which, I mean, not to compare player to player because they have different roles. One's a defensive end, one's a linebacker, but still, getting 2 interceptions, and he's still at 5.5 sacks and still has plenty of games left to go. You know, great guy. Anyway, we'll move on to the next pick before we get too far into this Aiden Hutchinson versus Micah Parsons thing because that's not worth it. Tennessee at Philadelphia. Eagles favored to win by 5.5. Tennessee is plus 5.5. What do we think, boys?
Who's the quarterback for Tennessee?
Ryan Tannehill.
Tannehill, yeah.
Tannehill. Didn't someone feel
Why?
like
Give me the Eagles. The Eagles.
You got-
this is Eagles written all over it. All over it. They're gonna try to stop Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts this week, even without Dallas Goedert, because we did know how important Dallas Goedert was to that offense. They seem to have figured it out, and let me tell you, the Eagles are back, baby. They're back.
I think the Eagles are going to start losing games here soon as the end of the season gets close. I think they end the season with 12 or 13 wins. I think they're going to lose probably half of the remaining games this season. But I don't think this is the game that happens. I think that at home against Tennessee, which they've been surprisingly good this year, but they're still not one of those things that you're like, oh yeah, they might make the Super Bowl like the Eagles. So I got the Eagles minus 5.5. I think probably most of the rest of the season I'm going to bet against the Eagles, but this week I think is probably the last week I'm going to bet the Eagles cover a 5.5 point spread.
Eagles just lost Gardner Johnson though. He's got a lacerated kidney.
C.J. Gardner Johnson. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, not that I mean, losing your starting safety is pretty big. I feel like for your defense, are they going to have somebody who can play deep and stop the absolute locomotive that is Derrick Henry?
I mean, you have a solid defensive front. Fletcher Cox is up there. I mean, he could help him stop the run. Safety wise, I'm not. Although it sucks that Gardner Johnson got hurt. Shout out to him. You're a great player and all that. I don't feel like they're going to be airing this. Tannehill's going to be airing the ball out as much, especially when you got Darius Slay there. Overall, just Philly's defense is superb, especially their secondary. James Bradbury's out there too. So I would think it would be a mistake to be throwing as often, especially when Philly's got such a strong defensive front and a solid defensive secondary. This is Eagles all written all over it for me, like I said. But
Yeah, I got Eagles.
um,
Are you going Titans, Frank? It kind of sounds like you're leaning that way.
Is it
Yeah.
what's the spread?
5.5. The Eagles are
5.5.
favored to win by 5.5, so it's honestly a pretty decent spread. Like I wouldn't feel that bad picking the Titans because the Eagles have won by not that much the last couple of weeks. But I just feel like at home the Eagles get one last big win before they start losing.
Ooh, this is tough. I need to get ahead this week. Give me the Titans.
Perfect. Also, Jordan Davis is eligible to return this week. I don't probably think he will play, but he's eligible coming off IR this week, so we'll see if he plays. But if so, then he's going to be the guy to stop Derrick Henry. Browns at Texans. Browns are favored to win by 7 points. It's the game of the week right here. What do you guys think?
Let's
Give me
go
the Browns.
Browns.
Browns. This has got Browns written all over it. I mean,
Hmm.
if they can't get the pass game going, the Browns just have the best run game there is, and solid defensive front, solid offensive front. Yeah, give me the Browns. Give me
Yeah,
the
I'm picking the Browns too. Honestly, if the Texans had played like they played all season, I would pick the Texans because this feels like the story is the Texans win at home. But Damian Pierce has been a bum the past few weeks, and the quarterback situation is dicey in Houston. So it is too much. If Jacoby Brissett was playing, I'd pick Browns -7. So that's easy. Moving on, Commanders at Giants. The Commanders are favored to win, 2.5 points. I got Giants +2.5.
Giants +2.5. Oh, dude, this is interesting. Because
Pick the
Daniel
Commanders.
Jones
You like the Commanders. That's your team, Gio. You gotta pick them.
It's not my team. I actually
You
do not
want
like
to
the
pick them.
Commanders
You
at all.
want them to play.
I do
We're
want to
playing
pick
the
them.
Giants back to back.
Giants
So-
back to back.
This is in New York. I think Odell. Where do you guys think Odell goes?
Cowboys.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
If
don't think
if
anyone's gonna
anything,
think
yeah.
about
I mean, there's a chance he doesn't go anywhere based on all the stuff that's happened off the field. But if he does go somewhere, I think at this point, I think it's the Cowboys. He's just done so much teasing about the Cowboys that I don't know.
Yeah, I mean his
For me-
tweets kind of seemed to say that on Thanksgiving after that game. People were saying that was the Odell Beckham Jr. Bowl. Whoever wins got him.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people were talking about that. I'm thinking he might still slide to New York because New York right now is desperate for wide receivers.
I don't think he goes to New York at
Um,
this point because I think he wants a team that's just going to win whether he's there or not. And I don't think the Giants are going to win the Super Bowl without him. Even with him, I don't think they do. I love the Giants, but I don't think they do. But yeah, the picks: Commanders -2.5 or Giants +2.5.
I'm gonna take the Giants. The Giants have been punching above their weight. Curtis Samuel has been a bomb on the Commanders. The Heineke revenge tour is not all that it's been cracked up to be. And Chase Young is still not playing. So Chase Young was playing, then it would be a different story. But give me the Giants.
Commanders! Assemble! It is all Commanders. It is all Commanders. It is all Commanders. I believe the Commanders are going to cover this 2.5. It's all, Taylor Heineke's still playing well.
No, he's not.
Yeah, you're right. Give me the Giants. Give me the Giants.
No, all right, you wrote it down. You got Commanders. You got Commanders. Too late.
What are you
All
doing?
right, fine. I'll take the Commanders. Yeah, you know what? I should go with my gut more often than not. Yeah, no, it's all Commanders. Taylor Heineke's going to step back up. They're going to throw a tutty here.
Because Taylor Heineke has a great story, but he just turns the ball over too much. But I still have won a lot of games with him, so I mean, I really probably can't say anything about it because he's winning. So like, what does it matter what I say if he wins? So yeah. Next game is Packers at Bears. Packers are favored to win by 4 points.
Yeah, give me the Packers.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
easy. I
Packers-
mean, if it were any other team, I would not take Aaron Rodgers. But it is. It's the Bears. He owns them, and
might be Jordan Love.
that too
Might be
could be
Jordan
Jordan
Love.
Love. Even then, I think Jordan Love beats him by 4. And the Bears are still
Yeah.
beat up. So next game
Yeah.
is Seahawks at Rams. The Seahawks are favored to win by 7.5 points.
7.5.
That's a
Yeah.
big spread.
Big spread for a divisional game in LA.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Give me the Rams. We
don't like
finally
this at
saw
all.
the wide receivers step up this last week.
Yeah.
So give me the Rams. I think they.
Do we know if Matthew Stafford's coming back? He says he's got a neck injury, but
That's what I'm looking at. I don't think so. I don't think he's back yet.
and Aaron Donald's got an ankle injury. He's questionable. There's a couple of questionable people here.
We said
on
on
the
Sean
Rams
McVay. You got
side.
Stafford's questionable. It is. We'll see. I mean, it's a day-to-day thing, I guess.
They had
Aaron Donald.
The Seahawks
Aaron
just had a
Donald's
shootout.
injured. I'm reconsidering my pick because there's a lot. Allen Robinson's out.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Stafford's out. Cooper Kupp obviously is out.
Yep.
Here's the thing: Seattle doesn't have a good defense.
No.
Okay, and
But Aaron Donald's out, dude.
Rams. Give me the Rams. Give me the Rams. Give me the Rams. The
Think they're gonna
Rams.
win by 7?
No, they're not gonna win by 7, but they're not gonna lose by more than 7.5. I think the Seahawks will win, but the Rams will cover. Oh, rainy day in Los Angeles as well. What is up with all this rain here?
Are you keeping your
Looks like
pick with
it's-
the Rams, or are you changing it, Frank?
Yeah, I'm keeping. No. I'm keeping my pick with the Rams.
No,
'cause
no, I'm
here's the
asking
thing.
Frank because he originally said
Oh.
Rams, but he seems to be questioning it. So I'm wondering what he's doing.
I'm questioning. Ethan, I want to hear what you say.
I'm picking the Rams.
I will make the decision.
It's a home game. Sean McVay is a genius. I think it's just I think it's the Seahawks' time to fall out of the playoff picture altogether. I think they're a few weeks ahead of where I think the Eagles will be. I think the Eagles are still going to make the playoffs and be a great team. Don't get me wrong, but I think Geno Smith being the guy that people think he is coming down to an end, and they're going to get brought down to reality and be about an 8 or 9 win team this season. I got Rams plus 7.5. Even though the Rams are bummed right now, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford are all hurt. They're three of the best players in the league, all hurt. But I think at home plus 7.5, I got to keep the Rams.
I'm gonna go with Seahawks. I think they pull this one off. I gotta get ahead of you guys somehow.
All
Make
right.
Some risky picks.
I'm not even going to ask Gion about this one, but Dolphins at the 49ers.
Fins.
49ers minus 3.5. Fins plus 3.5.
Fins plus 12.
Oh,
Minus 12.
jeez. I'm writing that in.
Yeah. As a little side bet. As a little
Yeah,
side
yeah.
bet.
What about you,
Fins.
Frank?
I'm going with the Fins.
I don't know about this one because I think the Niners are like I've said before, like I said since the beginning of the show, Niners are my pick to win the NFC this year. But they didn't play that well last week. And if they did play well last week, I would bet on them every dollar I have to win this game. But they didn't. And so it's tough. I'm going to pick the Dolphins just because they're favored to lose. And I feel like it's always safer if you don't know to go with the team that's favored to lose. So I'm going Fins plus 3.5. Tight spread, but we'll move on. Chargers at Raiders. Chargers are favored to win by 1.5.
That's just bogus. Give me the Chargers.
Yeah, that's
Give me the
stupid.
Chargers. Although, no, give me the Chargers. But I do want to point out, Josh Jacobs. Shout out to you. Ridiculous.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is a
touchdown.
monster.
Josh Jacobs is an absolute monster this season. The Chargers are weak defensively. So are the Raiders, but the Chargers are weak defensively due to a lot of injury. But hear me out. You have Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is an absolute monster on the field. You have Austin Eckler, great pass catching back, and in fact, I think he's the best pass catching back in the league.
I agree with that.
Receiving core, Keenan is back. Palmer's playing pretty solid. DeAndre Carter's playing pretty solid.
Mike Williams might come back this
Williams
week.
might be back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Williams might come back.
This feels
and
easy. I'm
Chargers-
not even gonna get an
Yeah.
analysis. Everything you just said is correct. It's Chargers minus
Yeah.
1.5. What about you, Frank?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Vegas.
Ah, good.
Oh.
Go ahead and get yourself knocked out of this whole
Oh.
competition for this year.
Frank, I can't wait until you
Chiefs-
buy me a jersey.
This is probably my favorite one because I don't know. It's Chiefs at Bengals. Chiefs are favored to win by 2.5 points. Very tight
Chiefs
spread.
all day.
Mm,
Although is Jamar back this?
Jamar is back.
Ooh. What about Joe Mixon?
if Joe it says
Joe Mixon's
questionable, but
supposed
here's
to
the
be
thing.
back.
Joe Mixon's supposed to be back, and if Jamar is back,
Tough.
tough
game.
Tough game.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I'm gonna stay in Ohio then. I'm gonna go with Bengals.
It's a bright and sunny day in Ohio, in Cincinnati.
Afternoon game. I feel like Joe Burrow does well in the afternoon.
And this is definitely going to be the primetime game. Patrick
Nervous game to
Mahomes.
beat, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's think about this. See, this is actually quite the tough scenario, because you have Mahomes, Kelsey's clicking on all gears, and then Mahomes and Pacheco, Isaiah Pacheco.
Pacheco's just getting better and better each week.
He's just constantly improving. I don't think there's he's got a pretty high ceiling to what he can do. And then the receiving core.
Best in the
The
league.
receiving core the receiving core is just Travis Kelce. The Bengals are phenomenal.
Okay,
I like
listen,
the Bengals.
I
in this
was
one.
kidding whenever I said that it was best in the league, but it is not just Travis Kelce. Juju is a dog. Valdez-Scantley's a dog. Sky Moore's a dog. Michael Hardman's a dog.
They're good.
They've all
They're
done
good.
fantastic. They have
Yeah.
been fantastic. They don't get targets and drop the ball. So, they're good. They're not the best in the league because you got the Dolphins that have 2 top 5 receivers currently in terms of production. But, it's a fantastic receiving core. Colts,
they have a solid receiving core for sure.
Colts at Dallas. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not even going to tell you the spread.
Dallas.
Dallas.
It is minus 10.5.
Oh.
Too many points. It is too many points, guys.
Dallas. Give me Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas.
I don't care how many points it is. It is Dallas.
Yeah, this is tough because Dallas is so much better than the Colts.
The Vikings.
They're so much better than the Colts, but also it's a lot of points. So, it's like, what do I do here?
Yeah, what do you do, Ethan? Do you take the gamble on the Colts and try to get an edge on me, or?
No, I
You stick
can't.
in-
I gotta take Dallas because the Colts offense is not gonna do shit against Dallas. I was thinking my original thought was the Colts are gonna lose, but not by that much because Jonathan Taylor's at least gonna get him get him some points, whether it be enough to get field goals or whatever. But that defensive line is disgusting. So I'm not gonna count on JT having a good game. I think I'll be good, but not like good enough to win that game. Last game, Sunday night game. Well, I guess the Monday night game, not what's the Sunday night game, is Saints at Tampa. Tampa's favored by 3.5 points.
This is in Tampa after Tom Brady just lost to the Browns.
Yep, give me Tampa Tom. Tampa Tom. I'm picking all Florida this week.
This feels like another.
Tom.
Go ahead.
No, Tom Brady.
This feels like another one of those
Step it
games, like I said about the Falcons, where they're supposed to win it for the sake of story that the Bucks are supposed to win. But the Saints have always played well against the Bucks.
The Saints have.
Yeah,
Especially when Marshawn Lattimore is healthy. Right now, it says that Marshawn Lattimore has an abdomen issue.
Well,
He's not out, but he's questionable. And then Alvin Kamara is also questionable with something that's undisclosed.
the thing is like
So-
it was either I think it was 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year, but it might have been last year, or if not the year before that. The Saints didn't let the Bucks score a touchdown in either the games they played that season, and they scored like 20, 30 points each game. And the Saints just play well against the Bucks, but yeah, with those injuries and at home, and like I said, I think the story is lined up for the Bucks to win this one. I got to take the Bucks minus 3.5. with that little of a spread, I feel like I have to.
I'm gonna go in New Orleans.
Cool,
just
cool.
to try and get ahead.
That wraps up the picks. This time next week, I will be
Right.
dominating these two clowns. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Talked about a lot of good stuff today.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Yep, do that. Check out our socials. It's in the
Like and
description.
subscribe.
Yep, like and subscribe, of course.
Stay tuned because we're gonna be doing a giveaway with a jersey at some point. So
Yes, at the
stay
end of this,
tuned,
at the end of the
listen.
regular season, we're gonna do one for the playoffs. We're gonna be giving away a jersey of your choosing. So, stay tuned for that. What was it you say, Gion? Stay frosty, something like that.
Stay frosty, my friends. Take it easy, y'all.